Hey everyone, welcome back to your Dawn of Autonomy podcast. I'm Dawn Zoldai, your host and the CEO of P3 Tech Consulting. We are almost complete on a month that we've dedicated to this theme of safe and secure skies, sponsored by Airspace Link. And when you think about safe and secure skies, you can't think about that without thinking about High Point Aerotechnologies. And if you haven't heard of this company, sit back and relax because we are going to dive deep into the whole ecosystem that they have created around security and safety of the airspace. And we have with us here today to talk about that Evan Hunt. He is their Chief Revenue Officer and also retired United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel. So great to have you on the show, Evan.
Thanks, Dawn. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, Evan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I, as you said, I was a former B-1 bomber weapons systems officer. So you can actually see the B-1 hanging behind me.
Very cool.
And as part of that qualification, you become an electronic warfare officer. You learn missions and do navigation and lots of fun things along those lines. So, veteran of Afghanistan and Iraq. And then transitioned to industry, doing first business development for a smaller company named Coherent that made fiber lasers for the laser weapon industry, and eventually made my way to Raytheon, helping them develop their laser weapons, and then expanding into a broader campaign leadership role for all of their counter drone technologies. And that brought me to High Point just about a year ago, and part of this exciting venture focused on drone and counter drone.
Well, that's a great segue then to tell us just kind of at a very high level what High Point Aerotechnologies is doing.
So High Point Aerotech is actually really focused on the counter drone side of our collective mission. You're catching us at a really exciting time because we've actually brought together a number of companies that are all falling under the design umbrella. And High Point collected some legacy companies that were really well known in the counter drone space, doing really exciting things for warfighters and coalition partners abroad. Those include Light Eye out of Denver, Colorado, Black Sage Technologies out of Boise, Idaho, and then now most recently, actually Flex Force out of Portland, Oregon, that makes the handheld jammer guns. And then Design is in California. They're in Irvine, California, massive manufacturing plant, really exciting stuff, making everything from Group 1 through 5 autonomous drones for intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance.
So Design is the parent company, is that right? And then High Point Aero falls under Design?
Yes, you're catching us at a time of transition. It's a really exciting time. Design is the parent company, and I think all the counter drone technologies will become the counter drone division of Design here over the next sort of quarter.
Okay, very cool. Well, you know what? I think we have a video to roll that kind of fairly embraces a lot of the things you're doing right now. So let's go ahead and roll that.
Yeah, thank you. I think there's music.
All right, very good. Okay, awesome. So we're talking about drones and counter drone both, Evan?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're so the this sort of exciting company that's coming together is really focused on asymmetric technologies, that are dominating sort of the conversation in warfare and defense and security today. And obviously, drones and drones play a key role in that, and branch into a number of different mission areas.
Well, then also when we get the authorities, and I know there are some limited authorities out there, also kind of more on the civil side, if you will, whether it's critical infrastructure and things of this nature. Is that kind of the target markets, basically?
Yeah, I mean, uh, it's interesting. A lot of the time, new technologies start with the defense market, right? And then over time transition into the overall aerospace and security realm. So we have interest from customers across the globe that want to protect stadiums, borders, key government facilities, mobile forces, oil fields, and everything in between, ports. So we're at a stage where, like we talked about in our last discussion, you used to not have to look up and worry about what was flying overhead. You used to not have to worry about um, anybody actually just being able to see or monitor your movements, actually, if you had control of the airspace. And that has drastically changed. And so there are a lot of people out there, both domestic and or civilian and military, domestic and international, that really can't deal with uh, having things in their aerospace that they don't know about and can't sort of affect or push out of their airspace.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing. I totally agree with you, Evan. Not only does the military tend to perfect technologies that then transition also to the commercial side, you also see, unfortunately, some of the tactics, techniques, and procedures that you witness on the battlefield or in conflict areas that can also be a threat to the homeland. And so I think we're seeing some unprecedented use of drones out there, and agree with you 100% that this, and look, Jordan Tower 22 was the first time in 70 years we did not have air superiority, and we lost ground troops to something that came at them from the air. So very significant, and we're just going to see, I think, more and more of this. So what you're doing is critically important, not only to our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians out there, as well as our coalition partners, but also just everybody. I think so. We talked a little bit about the companies, and we're going to dive deeper into these various products and that you guys offer. But tell us a little bit about the team that you compiled, because you, as you mentioned, you're a retired lieutenant colonel in the weapons officer, in the United States Air Force. I imagine you've gathered a number of experts that have interesting backgrounds relevant to what we're seeing today.
Yeah, I mean, boy, we have a large and exciting team. My new boss, David Levy, is a retired engineering and program leader from General Atomics. We have former uh, um, White House folks, specialists in AI and autonomous software, like Davey Gibeon. We have um, retired industry experts like our CEO of the air defense division of this counter drone division at High Point, Al White, that has just decades of experience in the industry. and former DARPA leads like Jeff Moss, our chief technology officer, and then our counter drone engineering leader is Dr. Nick Maniscalco, very well known for lots of exciting work in the counter drone space. So I could go on and on. I mean, we have a ton of talent to ensure we can really, meet customer needs with cutting edge solutions.
Awesome. And by the way, everybody, we are live, just a reminder. And we've got Morgan McCauley out there in the chat saying, keep up the good work. So thanks, Morgan. Appreciate you, buddy. Morgan is a super fan and actually is just launching his own brand new drone. More to follow on that, I hope soon. So let's talk a little bit about the specific problems you guys are trying to solve, right? So we talked about what we're seeing overseas and this unprecedented level of commercial drones, quite frankly, commercial ones. I mean, in your video, it talked about Group 4, which is a military, right, a DoD thing, groups 1 through 5, and 5 is, you think 4 and 5 are like the Predators, the Reapers, the really, really big drones that fly super high altitudes, but we're seeing small ones, and we're seeing first-person view FPV racing drones being used to drop grenades into tanks and blowing them up. This is something new and different, I think, in large numbers. So tell us, like, as you guys are evolving and you're sitting back and looking at the threat landscape, what problems are you looking to solve out there?
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head with these different size drones, different the Department of Defense classifies drones in these groups of 1 through 5. And the best way to explain it is a group 1 is kind of like a Digi Phantom 4 or a Mavic that you could buy off Amazon and hook up to your cell phone and fly around tomorrow. And to your point, those can be flown very precisely and easily modified to drop munitions, sadly. And so those drones pose a problem because they are ubiquitous. They're manufactured at a rate of thousands and thousands per month. So they get more and more capable and smaller, faster, longer endurance, better operating in the wind and bad weather. Year by year, they get better and they get cheaper and more accessible. And traditional air defense systems have a lot of problems, not only detecting those drones, but identifying them. They look like birds. They look like other things in the airspace, and that means you need real special technology that is optimized to look at those small flying targets that can start and stop, and they basically loiter and then move. So very non-standard flight profile from traditional air threats, which usually fly at you in a pretty straight manner. And then the problem scales from there. So Group 2s are just a little bigger, the size of a German Shepherd maybe would be a perfect example. And they can carry more munitions. They're a little bit easier to see in some regards, but they're much more advanced. And then Group 3s become similar to cruise missiles in that they really have their own internal navigation systems. They can find their way to the target without the assistance of GPS or Wi-Fi, and those can be as big as your kitchen table, right, or your dining room table, and therefore can be quite deadly, like unfortunately we saw with Tower 22, like you mentioned. And Group 4 and 5 are really just flying airplanes, right? Group 4 is they're drone airplanes. Group 4 is a similar to a Cessna or a Pipistrel aircraft, a small onesie, twosie seater airplane, and then a Group 5 is a much larger aircraft that can be converted to an autonomous drone. So, design actually makes a Group 4 called LEAP, which is proven and utilized for intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance missions all over the world. And then Ultra is a really cutting edge, ultra long endurance aircraft that is a Group 5 with much broader wingspan and much really incredible sort of record breaking ability to take off and conduct an ISR mission for 4 to 5 days before it lands.
Oh, wow.
So when you're talking about countering drones, you have to sort of deal with this broad threat spectrum,
Yeah.
and they all have different challenges. We tend to specialize first and foremost in the drones you mentioned, the ones that are widely available, most easily converted into threats. And because there's so much commercial use, they are incredibly capable, right? With now, you mentioned FPV, so
Yeah.
guys put goggles on, they fly them through windows, they fly them at incredibly fast speeds. The good thing about those drones is they are susceptible to jamming, to electronic warfare measures, because they are dependent on Wi-Fi and GPS to be operated manually via Wi-Fi, and then they default to GPS to know where they are and know if they lose Wi-Fi connection, know where to come home. So, often our focus is on detect, identify, and then jam. And for customers that have concerns about the larger threats that are more military in nature, with a more limited sort of threat actor set, we scale up effects from there.
Okay, cool. So we do have a picture. I want to roll this picture. I think it's your sawtooth, one of your sawtooth contributions. Tell us what we're looking at and what it does.
Yeah, thank you. So our sawtooth was originally designed for fixed site protection. So think protecting a key government facility or a military base. It stands on, originally it was a tripod, and it's morphed over time into what we call a quad pod, which is more stable. It's just got 4 legs. And the key components here are, you see the radar panel down at the bottom left.
Yeah.
That actually is doing that acquisition phase. You're looking, nothing really replaces radar for looking for threats in the airspace.
Mm-hmm.
And then you couple that with passive radio frequency detectors, which is one of the smaller boxes on the right. And passive radio frequency detectors, we had a representative from Design on the last, Defend on the last call.
Right.
Yeah, Defend Solutions is one of our passive radio providers, passive RF providers, and those look for drones operating on known frequencies in the airspace, and can detect the signal, and they can detect where it's coming from. So between those two components, you acquire the drone passively with passive RF and actively with active radar.
Okay.
You can see the drones that emanate and the drones that do not. And then you usually slew your camera onto that drone. Once you sort of see it in a 360-degree array, you slew your camera, and now you can zoom in and look at the drone and determine if it's what type of drone it is, and determine if it's friendly or enemy. And then lastly, it's got directional jammers on it, those pointy things that were up there. And those are just different jammer bands that you fire out an invisible array of jamming that obstructs the Wi-Fi or GPS signals that are helping to control the drone. Yeah, I mean, that configuration will set up kind of a 3 to 4 kilometer bubble of defense. So any drone that's in the airspace, that it's there, and you have a way to identify it and jam it if required.
Okay, very
obviously
cool.
There's nothing about that sort of sensor and effector suite that can't be repackaged onto a vehicle or onto a boat. we've done that in the past.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I think so. Tell me, Evan, the next picture that we have, I want to roll this next picture. Is
Yeah.
that the sawtooth, just the top of it, or is that a different model?
That is the top of the sawtooth. That's right.
That's what
So
I thought as I was
yep,
looking at this. Okay, so what we're seeing here are the jammers are at the top.
jammers are at the top and the camera's at the top. That's right.
Okay,
And then you
very
have what's called a pan tilt, which just helps sort of orient it. That's a moving platform that moves and looks in the direction of the threat. And yeah, it's effectively your camera and jammer suite on that sawtooth.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You guys have other effectors too, just because, as you mentioned, there are some drones that are not using RF signals. You know, I think they're calling them
Right.
dark drones now, right? And I think the big thing that keeping up a lot of people at night is what about swarms of dark drones? You know, let's go to the biggest nightmare first. So what are you guys doing about that when, you know, that kind of passive detect, you know, I think the radar might find the object from an effector standpoint, meaning how do you mitigate that? You know, what's out there to do that?
Yeah, I think the sort of counter drone industry has settled on the first two steps, which are jamming, like we talked about, and
Yep.
then spoofing or spoofing or even hijacking happens in that passive RF spectrum, and it allows you to insert sort of false locations into the drone and make the drone think it's somewhere else, so you can effectively make it fly to a different part. And in certain cases, you can actually take over control of the drone. So both spoofing and jamming are really exciting capabilities because there are way fewer restrictions in terms of policy on utilizing those non-kinetic effects. Because after you move out of spoofing and jamming and hijacking, those electronic warfare techniques, then you have to move into what we call kinetic effects. And that means you need to have authority to fire a gun, a missile, or a laser, or high power microwave, all of which sort of, you have a much more limited customer set at that point that work on those types of weapon systems. And we have many partners in that realm. So we try to be a weapon agnostic integrator so that we can always craft the right solution for a particular customer and a particular customer's site and mission. But we have partners like Northrop Grumman that make the Scorpion gun truck that has a 30 millimeter cannon that is pretty effective at dealing with drones at short range. We've partnered with the Raytheon high energy laser weapon system, which fires a invisible instantaneous beam of light and burns a hole in targets. And then we've partnered with missile providers as well that are constantly trying to create a better missile that is more cost effective to deal with drones.
Well, I want to, you've got a lot of partners out there, and you've also, as we discussed earlier, kind of brought some directly into the fold of High Point Technologies and design. Let's talk about the Shield product line. Now, is that from Light Eye?
Yeah, Shield came from our Light Eye heritage. So Shield is absolutely, and just like we talked about with Sawtooth, that kill chain of detect, track, identify, and deter, defeat. Shield does the same thing, just at a much longer range, in a more militarized kit for military customers. So we developed Shield out of there's Shield. We developed Shield out of the CODS program, containerized odds program, which was We delivered actually 26 of these systems to the U.S. Air Force, and they were deployed all over the world. Many of them are still active, defending bases in Europe and in the Middle East. And you can see the size of that system. So the jammers at the top, that's a much, much bigger jammer. The radars are bigger. All the components are bigger, and those get you and more range.
Yeah, I mean, just for context, I see the little cone down there. This is like almost like a Connex box. Like that's how big that thing. Now there's a door. Is there like a command center in there or?
Absolutely, yeah. So this is how things have evolved over time. But in 2017-18, when we developed the system, the Air Force actually wanted the command and control station within the Connex box. So this was a standalone capability, air conditioned control box that has on the left side of it this mast that extends and turns into what you see there with the jammer and the camera and the radar. And then on the other, within there, there's actually a control box with our command and control software that helps, that the operator utilizes. Over time, I think most of our customers realized they would prefer to have their operators remote within the base's command and control center, right? So the Base Defense Operations Center, or the BDOC, is what it's often called. That's where most of your senior leadership sits, that's charged with defending a base and the security of a base. And so what we did was we started developing those. We converted CODS, the containerized system, into Shield, which is mounted on a trailer now, and that's a standalone remotely operated system, so that operators could be closest to the authorities that will give them permission to engage and destroy the drone.
Well, and theoretically in a safer place. Also, I wouldn't want to be the airman stuck in the Connex box, even if it is air conditioned out in the middle of nowhere, for sure. By the way, Evan, we got Greg Larson out of there saying hello from Augusta. So, hey, Greg, thanks for dialing in. Appreciate you. So, yeah, like you said, of now more autonomy. So tell us about the mission control. You mentioned software. So this is not just a hardware deal. You guys aren't just about drones or counter UAS. You're also doing software to make all of these systems work. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, in keeping with your theme of autonomy, we're really a software first company, where the software and our Defense OS platform, which is widely known in counter drone circles, is not just the command and control user interface, but is also a back-end integration platform. Because you see a theme where, in order to do counter drone correctly, you really need to integrate a wide number of sensors and effectors and have them talk to each other and have them all deconflict, frankly, multiple tracks and source of information into just one track for the operator, so he can make a quick decision, he or she can make a quick decision. And even better, with advancements in artificial intelligence and machine learning, the software can enable the operator to really not be there, to not be staring at the screen the whole time, and work in an autonomous fashion, so that we can set up systems that safely defend our warfighters and our key personnel, and they just really only call out the attention of the decision maker when it's absolutely required, and otherwise work autonomously. So we have over 60 software engineers within our company, and then there is another advanced software team that design brings. They make Matrix, which is geospatial awareness and mission planning software for ISR missions. And obviously those two teams coming together are going to result in some really exciting things in the near future.
Well, I forget who I was talking to, and they said drones are the yin, counter drone is the yang, and you need both. In other words, your system, when you're looking at airspace for airspace awareness and assessment, and then protection, of course, defense, you need to know what drones are out there, which ones are yours, and also which may not be yours, and it has to be a holistic system. So this Defense OS software, this can run across all of your different platforms, whether it's a Black Sage product or a Light Eye product. So it's something that can be used across the board.
Absolutely, yeah. We've really drawn upon those legacy platforms, Sawtooth and Shield, and frankly advancements in Defense OS already, to offer a new set of products to the customer, right, that are grounded in those proven systems. Because a lot of customers, especially in defense, they don't want to hear something shiny and new. They want to hear that you've had something deployed that worked, that survived, that was supportable. And so there's always this careful balance of, hey, we've got this new capability for you, we've got this new product for you, but we also have high TRL, high technology readiness level, high manufacturing readiness level technologies that are proven to survive in these harsh environments, or on your boat, or at your airport, and worked effectively in that environment. So, we're at a stage now where we actually can craft solutions for the customer for exactly what they need. We're not pushing just one product on them. We're giving them technical baselines that we recommend based off of experience and knowledge of the industry, knowledge of the threat. And then we leverage that software integration platform to quickly put together something that's really right-sized for the customer's mission and for their budget.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's talk about some of those other kind of components that could help in this right sizing effect that you're talking about. So we talked about Shield, we talked about Sawtooth. You have this thing called Cutthroat, which I love the names, by the way. What is the Cutthroat product line and the various configurations of that?
Yeah, so thank you. So Cutthroat is our latest move toward a truly mobile, on the move counter drone protection system. And we have multiple customers that want systems on autonomous boats, or they want systems on ground vehicles. We have a partnership with GM Defense to collaborate on a system on the GM Defense ISV. So the Cutthroat system is really the latest advancement of the Sawtooth that incorporates some of our newer technology from FlexForce. That FlexForce makes I really wish we had a picture of it, but it makes the handheld drone buster jammer gun.
Oh, okay. I think most people were probably familiar with that.
Yeah. Yes, you can definitely see their capability. Drone buster is actually a program of record with the U.S. Army. But that small package, which is proven, has been converted to a fixed site capability, which we are going to use as our jamming capability on Cutthroat. So what we're doing is we're making our system smaller, we're making it consume less power, we're making it less expensive and more capable at the same time, which is the name of the game.
Oh, it absolutely is the name of the game. And you've got another coolly named product called the Razorback system. Tell us about this one.
So Razorback is a bit of a vision at the moment, but we really hope to eventually be building a truly autonomous counter drone capability, hopefully on ground and airborne platforms. So obviously design brings these incredibly capable, long endurance, cost effective aircraft that traditionally have been doing ISR, but if you can build a counter UAS capability into one of those drones like Leap or Ultra, now you can do things like peruse an entire border, right? So hundreds and hundreds of miles of border for drones, and then quickly go out and intercept them and deal with them if you find them.
So,
Because
Evan, is the vision? I imagine the Leap and the Ultra are very high altitude drones.
yes,
It from an effector standpoint, to do something once, for example, it spots or identifies a threat or a target, um, is that emanating from above, from that high of a level, or is there going to be like a secondary like deployment of something else that will then do that mitigation job?
no, it would actually emanate from the aircraft. Yeah, you would just like the Sawtooth, you would have a system. The Razorback can be a system that actually um, fires a jamming cone at a drone and effectively knocks it out of the sky, and then tells somebody on the ground where they could go pick it up, or pushes it away from the border so it alters its course and its mission.
Wow, that is significant. So I want to make sure we didn't miss anything, and I don't know that we talked about Black Sage very much and kind of their family. Now, is Black Sage the ones involved in Defense OS? Are they creating your software? Or are they doing other things with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's all it's all really on this path to be design. So Black Sage, the legacy was in the Defense OS software capability
Hmm.
and in that Sawtooth system. And within the Light Eye legacy was from the larger containerized system, and the Shield trailer more for fixed site military customers, the longest range customers.
Right.
And uh, then we've brought in Flex Force, which really was this key missing piece of the puzzle to provide something handheld for ground troops that are on the move in the environment. Really need a way to respond uh, themselves, right, as opposed to relying on some other system at the base. And those three legacy companies came together to provide a really comprehensive set of solutions to counter drone customers. And then with design, like we talked about, it brings the whole airborne side of the house, uh, larger drones for long endurance ISR, loitering munitions, basically every drone you can think of is probably being made at design, some version of that capability. I may just not be able to talk about it.
Well, you could. You just have to kill us all, and we don't want that. So,
But
so
lots of exciting things on the horizon, Don. I mean, we're just at the very start of this new venture, and there is going to be a lot of exciting products in the next couple of years, and I think we'll have some exciting announcements to share with key customers shortly.
no, that's great. And Evan, I knew our time would fly. We're like only probably like 4 minutes out from our time here, and I want to make sure we cover everything you wanted to. I do want to say, Tom Adams is now working with you guys. Has been for a little bit and was such a great part of our Law Tech Connect workshop this year at AUVSI Exponential. In fact, we just streamed that his panel, which was called The Other Three A's, Airspace Awareness and Assessment, last Tuesday, I believe it was. And so everybody, you can go on my website, p3techconsulting.com, and check that out if you missed it, because that panel was a whole bunch of different people, including Tom, talking about the threat, talking about the different technologies, as well as the current state of the authorities. So absolutely check that out. Speaking of events, you guys attended Modern Day Marine, and I'm sure you've got other things on the horizon. If people wanted to see these technologies in person, where might they be able to find you guys next? Like, what's on tap next for you?
Yeah. Oh no, thank you for asking. We were actually just at Soft Week, so that just passed. We tend to go to most conferences in this space, at least attend. We will have a presence at AUSA later in October.
The
And
Army
then
one.
the Army one, yes, a big show. We've got a meeting room. We would invite everybody to reach out, and would love to meet with all of you. And we are actually looking very seriously at going to Electronic Warfare Live in Tartu, Estonia, which is a great event that allows us to do live demonstrations for the European community, which is, and actually there are other communities there too, but um, uh, very relevant to this threat we're talking about today.
Well, I did just see some announcement about EASA, or the European Union, putting out, about looking for counter drone technologies. So, obviously this is a global issue. We know this, and so it makes sense that you're going to all of these places. So, very cool. If folks aren't going to these defense focused shows, how else might they be able to reach you, Evan?
Yeah, thanks, Dawn. So my email is evan.hunt@highpointaerotech.com. And feel free to reach out. I'm also on LinkedIn. I have a presence, and you can feel free to message me there as well. Always looking forward to discussions with anybody interested in this space.
Well, and great website, High Point Aerotechnologies. Check that out as well. I think, all these different products are on there. It's super organized. I look through it. Sometimes you go on a company's, but especially a company as kind of evolving and large as yours, with all it's very explanatory. I think, design is the parent company. So, I mean, I love what you've done there. So that's awesome. And Evan, I really want to give you this last minute to go ahead and address the audience with, again, anything we missed, anything you want to conclude with as we get ready to sign off today.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you watched, and I want to stress that we are an open architecture mission-based solution integrator. So we are vendor agnostic. We are system agnostic. We want to grow and build as many partnerships as possible to ensure we're keeping tabs on cutting edge technology and incorporating it into solutions. So, that's part of our value add, is staying on top of the trends in the industry and the threat dynamics, and being able to offer the best of what's available. So to the supplier community, to the customer community, we're really trying to empower you all to own the interface and be part of the mission.
Out there that watched today, we are out here.
Thank you, Dawn. Appreciate you.